Welcome to Politically Unstable with Charles Hurt, Washington Times opinion editor. I'm your host, Andy Parks, and I'd like to remind you that you qualify for a 50% discount on an annual digital subscription to the Washington Times. Simply go to washingtontimes.com/Andy. That's washingtontimes.com/ANDY. And now, as promised, Charlie Hurt. Hello, Charlie.
Good morning, Andy.
You've been away. What have you been fishing?
Been to the wonderful Republic of South Korea. It's such a beautiful place, but I'll tell you, when it comes to dealing with a pandemic, they are prepared for a pandemic. I'm not sure, but they've got all their discovered over in South Korea when it comes to a pandemic.
You know, I understand that they've done so much better number-wise and spent very little money as compared to us.
Well, you know, it's funny. I think when it comes to, they're incredibly organized, I would say, to the point of completely trampling on people's individual liberties. What they do in terms of testing people, quarantining people, forcing people into quarantine, it would never, thank God, it would never fly in this country. Americans would never go along with the program. And we're far too disorganized to be pushed around the way the South Korean government pushes around its citizens. Although they are having, with the latest Omicron thing, apparently they're having quite a spike over there with this, because obviously the wild transmissibility of it is probably too hard for even their extreme measures to contain.
While you were gone, a few things happened. Hillary finally got caught.
Isn't that incredible? And what's really interesting, so I sort of watched all that unfold. I can't remember there's about a 14-hour time difference. But it was interesting when the story broke. I think it was midday on Saturday here, early, 5 o'clock in the morning, Sunday there. But it was fascinating to a couple of things. One is the story broke on middle of the day Saturday before the Super Bowl, which usually when something like that happens out of Washington, what you know for certain is someone's trying to bury the story. And it worked. You could look around looking at different websites and you could see that nobody was touching this thing. For at least 24 hours, Drudge Report never linked to it. It had all these gauzy stories about the Super Bowl and, hating on Trump and all this kind of stuff, but nothing about the fact that an operative from the Hillary Clinton campaign was spying on the president of the United States in the White House. You can't compare it to Watergate because it would be a disservice to, it would be literally a disservice to everybody that was involved in Watergate, because this is so much worse. But then fast forward to even, it's been 4 days now. Mm-hmm. None of the major networks has yet to touch this story. And the obligatory sort of trying to explain it away stories that you read in places like the New York Times and the Washington Post reveal a couple of things. One is these people are bought and sold. They have sold their souls to the devil. But the other thing is that the fact that they're so afraid to even address it, and when they do address it, they're trying to explain it away, underscores just what a deeply, deeply devastating story this really is.
Yeah. AOC in New York City on crime. I had a laugh out loud when she was blaming it on people having to steal baby formula.
Yeah, isn't that incredible? It's one thing to be wrong about things, and obviously AOC and all of these Democrats have been disastrously wrong about everything, especially when it comes to sort of crime and justice things. But really, seriously, please spare us the explanations, because the explanations and the excuses truly add insult to injury, and it's actually no different from this White House. The most alarming thing about when the White House is asked about, say, inflation, they don't say, okay, yeah, we were wrong about this, we're going to do this to fix it. What they say is, oh no, the economy is great. Have you seen this, or have you seen it? And they pick some like little pinhole data point that makes it look like, where they can see some sort of upward arrow in the economy, and they try to apply it to the rest of the economy. The net result is, of course, that it's just clear that they have no intention of even acknowledging the problem. And if they have no intention of acknowledging the problem, you can be guaranteed they will never, ever correct course to fix anything. And so if you're concerned about crime, if you're concerned about getting thrown in front of a moving train by a lunatic in the subway system, you're just going to have to live with it. Get over it.
Mm-hmm. I want to take you to your column, Mrs. Greene Goes to Washington. Don't you love it? An elected official who, in her words, thinks like a voter and doesn't think like a politician.
Yeah, she's a really interesting person. And here's the thing. We could spend all day long debating all of her ideas and, whether she's right or wrong. I happen to agree with, 97% of the stuff that she argues about what's wrong with Washington and what needs to be done to fix it. But setting all that aside, but she has been open about the fact that, supposedly the reason she was kicked off all of her committees a year ago is because of things that she'd said about these conspiracy theories. And some of them were really weird. Some of them were cases where she retweeted something idiotic on Twitter. Take that with exactly what it is, whatever. The degree to which people get in trouble for Twitter manners is like a Mach 12, and yet they get a total pass for racking up $30 trillion in debt that they're going to dump on our children. It's really amazing, sort of the disconnect there. But she has acknowledged that she doesn't, that she apologized and acknowledged that she kind of fell for idiotic things on the internet and she shouldn't have spread them or retweeted them or talked about them or whatever. As an aside, I find it hard to beat up on somebody too badly, mainly because after the New York Times and Washington Post have spent the past 5-6 years peddling in the most virulent, wild, unfounded conspiracy theories, where is a person supposed to go on the internet? You can't go to npr.org. You can't go to the nytimes.com to get actual information. That those are hotbeds of conspiracy theories. So where's a person supposed to go? So they wind up on some weird website that has some other weird story that's not nearly as conspiratorial or crazy as the stuff that the New York Times is pushing. But anyway, all that aside, the bottom line, Andy, is this. Marjorie Taylor Greene, even with those conspiracy theories that supposedly led to her getting kicked off committees, even with those, she got elected to represent 524 citizens of Georgia. And they knew all that when they elected her. And if you don't believe, and let's just say she's crazy beyond words, which I don't believe, even if you believe she is crazy beyond words, she still represents 763,520 citizens of the state of Georgia. And either you believe in representative democracy or you don't. And if you believe that Marjorie Taylor Greene does not deserve a voice in Washington, then you do not believe in representative democracy. Hard stop. End of story. There is no other explanation. And if you polled all the journalists and all the lawmakers, even Republicans in Washington, you would find probably, you'd find 100% of Democrats, and probably over half of Republicans would say that Marjorie Taylor Greene does not deserve a voice. That's really disturbing. That right there shows the evil that really does exist here in Washington.
It's a much-needed pit bull, and we'll go after either party, and I think we need more people like Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's a much-needed pit bull, and we'll go after either party. Yeah, don't you think we need more people like her?
Absolutely. If we had 535 Marjorie Taylor Greenes in Washington, we would fix 90% of the problems in Washington within about a week.
Yeah.
But as long as people like her are beaten out of the woodwork to the fringes of Washington, we'll never resolve anything.
You can read all of Charlie Hurt's columns at WashingtonTimes.com. Charlie, thanks.
Thank you, buddy.
Thanks for listening to Politically Unstable with Charlie Hurt. Remember, as I said, you can read all of Charlie's columns at WashingtonTimes.com. And while you're there, check out our great selection of podcasts. I'm Andy Parks. Have a great day.